Another day had arrived, but nothing changed. Dion seemed to evaporate whenever chores needed to be done, and today Miss Maria was particularly frustrated over it. After she fired off a lecture at Lily and Royal for allowing such behavior, I volunteered to go find him, if only to restore some peace to the household. However, finding him was easier said than done. I've checked every room I passed, but couldn't find him anywhere. I shuddered at the thought of returning to Miss Maria without him. As I roamed the halls, I noticed that the door to Sol's workroom was ajar. It seemed unlikely that Dion was in there, but I had to check for my own safety. I peeked in. Oh. Oh, I'm always a sucker for the guy who's fallen asleep at his desk. I don't know why. I'm always like, oh, he's working hard. I almost knocked, but stopped my hand when I saw Sol asleep on his desk. Is that the dress he's designing? There were papers scattered beneath his hands and on the floor. They seemed to be sketches and pattern designs. There were a few mannequins standing like soldiers along the walls and wearing unfinished clothes. One wore an unfinished white dress. The honesty of his workplace brought a warm smile. This is the real Sol. I can feel it in my chest. I snuck into the room, admiring the skill and beauty of the sketches I avoided stepping upon. I froze. I looked over at him, waiting until I was sure that he was still asleep. I could not deny he had lovely features. I blushed at the thought, realizing I'd been staring in my efforts to be sure I could escape unnoticed. But before I could dwell on it, Sol spoke. I was dreaming. Sorry. I narrowed my eyes at him in confusion. He seemed to be asleep, but all of a sudden, the calm in his expression contorted into that of pain. Right, the reason the curse hasn't been lifted is because now Sol's wish is keeping her from turning back, so we have to figure out what that is. I promise to do better, so please. No. No. Beads of sweat rolled down his forehead, and he continued to cry out in his sleep. He's dreaming about his dad. Sol! Afraid of what kind of nightmare could torture him like that, I shook his shoulder. Sol, wake up! His eyes shot open, and he flung himself away from his desk. Now on the ground, trembling upon his knees, Sol gazed at me with a terrified expression. He was ghostly pale, and there were tears in his eyes. They were the eyes of a child after seeing a monster. I knelt down and embraced him. Shh. It's all just a dream. Lady Aura? I reached up and stroked his hair, resting my cheek upon his head. Don't worry, you're safe now. Sol didn't answer with words. His arms came up and gently held me back. Aww. Startled that I turned this into a hug, I tried to let him go, but he clung to me. Sol? Not yet. I know it is inappropriate, but can we stay like this a little longer? Please? I didn't have the heart to reject him. Wait, but where did it go from there? What, you just hugged and then like... And everything was fine, and we went on our merry way. In the end, I wasn't able to find Dion. I couldn't help thinking he really did have the ability to evaporate. Where could that boy have gone? I finished cooking dinner and then went to help Lily set the table. Sol stepped into the dining room looking frightfully exhausted. Prince Sol, you do not look so good. Are you okay? Yes, I'm just tired. I didn't want to say anything. But after seeing him so tormented in sleep, I was really worried about him. It must have shown on my face because he walked to my side and placed a hand on my head. His fingers slipped into my hair when his hand moved. Oh, really? Don't worry. I blanked at the sensation of Sol's hand and his reassuring statement, completely unprepared for it. But then he leaned closer to whisper in my ear. Thank you. For earlier. The warmth of his breath clung to my skin. Thinking about how close his lips were to my ear, I felt my heartbeat double its pace. All I could do was nod as heat spread across my cheeks. I'm like, is he really this oblivious, or is he just cruel? Suddenly remembering that we weren't alone, I shifted my gaze to Lily. The shock on her face was not a secret, and it was more than enough to return my senses. I stepped away from Sol, hoping my reaction didn't seem too unnatural. Sol's cheek instantly darkened, and he withdrew his hand back to his side. Sorry. An awkward silence filled the room. I hadn't expected Sol to do something like that with Lily standing nearby, or anyone. It caught me so unaware that I couldn't think of a casual way to spin it. Is there a way to casually spin that? I don't really think there is. Oh, thank goodness someone's here to save the day. Like a saving grace, Dion sauntered into the room whistling a small tune. I could have kissed him for such perfect timing, but we'll wait until the next route. Dion! What's up? We've been looking all over for you. Where have you been? Offering a shrug and a smirk, Dion dismissed my question. That's a secret. I sighed at his answer, but it did no good. Dion shifted his attention across the room, no doubt sensing the tension I'd failed to disperse. He raised a brow when his eyes fell back on me. What did I miss? I glanced at Lily and immediately felt a pang in my chest. She didn't lift her head. Nothing. Since you're here, I'll just go ahead and finish dinner. Awkward couldn't even describe the strained smile I forced onto my face before I escaped to the kitchen. Aren't we in the kitchen? But even as I disappeared into the other room, I still felt the heat of Sol's gaze on the back of my neck. I know he watched as I left. Touching my fingertips over my lips, I closed my eyes and tried to make my heart slow down. Please, don't tell me I actually fell in love with the prince. Not like this. Not like this. Not in front of Lily. I barely slept that night, fussing and worrying about this love triangle I'd foolishly stumbled into like a big dum-dum. I had all the warnings. I had to stop these feelings before their roots reached too far into my heart to weed out. Well, when you've had that thought, it's already too late. Lily said she wouldn't be upset since we're friends. But I still didn't think it was fair that I pursue these feelings when I knew how much she liked Sol. But I did not know what to do about this. Lily openly told me she wasn't going to confess her feelings, and it would be wrong of me to tell Sol how she feels. And Sol is no doubt too dense to notice on his own. I wonder about that. I wandered the hallways, which I'd been doing since breakfast. Oh! Lady Aura! A startled voice yanked me from my thoughts. I jumped away from Sol, who was walking down the hall in the opposite direction. A deep blush spread across his cheeks. My apologies. You seem so deep in thought. Do you have a problem? A problem? With you? I tilted my head to the side, confused by Sol's shaken demeanor. He always seemed so calm and collected about everything. He did until we started his route. It was unnerving because the shyer he behaved, the more anxious I felt. Things were changing too quickly for me to keep up. Shaking my head a little to get my mind on track, I looked up at Sol. I'm just wondering... I'm trying to figure out what this normal end is going to be. Like, are we trying to get him together with Lily? Are we having a strained relationship with Lily? Like, what is the goal? I assume, like, it's a romance, right? We're trying to romance this guy, so I'm thinking, like, the best ending would mean we're gonna romance him, but I'm all thrown off with this love triangle. I'm fine in love triangles where the other person is terrible to the love interest and you're like, you know what? I'm not gonna interfere too much, but just enough to let you know that that person's terrible to you and you deserve better, like me. When the other person is a sweetheart like Lily, oh, I don't know what to do. You know what we can do? We have the power of saving. I just don't know what to do. Like, this is more general. This is very specific. You know what? I guess I'll lean hard into this triangle and see what happens. And then if I get the best ending, oh well. We'll go back, we'll do the normal end, we'll figure it out. I'm just wondering, what do you think of Lily? Tipping his head to one side, Sol raised his hand to his lips and considered my question. After a moment, a playful look spread over his face. I picked the non-vague question, Sol. It was a specific question about a specific person who was specifically in the same room with us when you decided to play with my hair, alright? And whisper into my ear, sweet nothings into my ear. That's a rather vague question, Lady Aura. I stared at Sol, not sure if he was being coy or oblivious. Well, for example, I think she is an excellent maid, always tending to the chores on time and with accuracy. I also think she has lots of potential and could do whatever she set her mind to. I resisted the urge to slump, exasperated. Okay, I guess I could have been a little more specific, but ugh. I should have known this question would need to be specific to get through to Sol. I mean, what do you think of her as a girl? Furrowing his eyebrows, Sol's expression took on one of confusion. I think she is certainly pretty and rather whimsical. She and Gold were quite similar that way. No, I mean, well, I stopped, lost for words. I guess he could view her as a little sister, especially since Gold has been out of the picture for 7 years now. She might have taken, in a way, I don't mean literally, but he could view her as like another younger sister. I knew Lily didn't want me to outright tell Sol of her feelings, but I don't think being sly was going to work either. I was so caught up in my question that I missed what Sol said next. Oh. See, you're not oblivious, because you're blushing with this sentence of, like, what I think about you as a lady. Don't know whether I want to slap you or just kiss you forever. I don't know, man. You're giving me conflicted feelings. As for what I think about you, Lady Aura... sorry, Sol, I didn't quite hear you. Darn. We were so caught up. We missed it. And he's like, abort. Sol's cheeks flushed bright pink and he looked away. No, never mind. An awkward silence drifted between us. Sol appeared thoughtful about something, and I was suddenly too nervous to ask what. The truth is, I don't know what it feels like to be in love. He shifted his gaze back to me, the red on his cheeks seeming to deepen. I resisted the urge to look down, struggling to maintain my composure and not to assume anything. Though, perhaps, I have already fallen for someone. A soft sigh followed Sol's confession, making it very hard to figure out what he meant. Who was he talking about? Now who's the oblivious one? Really? Sol gazed at me for a moment, his jeweled eyes glistening like the mid-afternoon sun streaming in from the window. Oh yeah, you're reciting poetry in your head about this guy. It's Shakespearean. And you're like, I gotta root these feelings out before it gets too deep. You're gone, girl. Oh. I didn't realize how hot my cheeks were until Sol's cool fingers brushed against them, moving a straight lock of hair behind my ear. Huh. Sol's fingers lingered at my ear. I wonder. Before I could get my thoughts under control and say something more than his name, Sol pulled his hand away and walked towards the window. To tell the truth, it doesn't matter. I doubt she would love me back. I tilted my head and my brow instinctively furrowed. Ignoring my flustered heartbeat, I tried again to figure out who Sol could mean. Lily wasn't shy about her feelings, but then Sol was dense about that sort of thing, says the girl trying to figure out who he's talking about. Still, that last part bothered me. No matter who he meant, I didn't understand why he was giving up without even trying. Sol didn't seem like himself. What makes you say that, Sol? I stepped closer. Sol rested against the windowsill. I'm not the perfect prince you and Lady Lily keep calling me. I act this way because it's my role. I'm sure that wouldn't change how Lily feels about you. I clapped my hands over my mouth, eyes open wide. That was the one thing I was not supposed to say. Before I could try and recover, Sol looked over at me. His smile was soft, but so sad. Something in his expression told me the truth. Well, duh! He's not dumb. He's just being nice. This is the worst. You knew. So, why pretend that you don't? I cannot accept or reject her feelings for me. I cannot bear to hurt my friend. Is this where we have the discussion of not telling her is also hurtful? You're not intentionally leading her on, but by not rejecting her, you're giving her a false hope. Oh dear. That's a terrible thing, though. Easier said than done, anyway. I didn't know what to say. I knew Lily wouldn't stop being Sol's friend, but it wasn't right to speak for her in this situation. Lady Lily is a great person. She deserves someone better than me. Sol. I wanted to say something reassuring to Sol, but my thoughts were confused. He said he didn't feel the same towards Lily. But if not Lily, was it some girl he knew in the past? Before the curse happened? Yes, the reason he keeps touching you all over the place is because he fell in love with a girl from the distant past. That's what he wanted to talk to you about. Maybe it's Maria. Did you ever think about that? She's quite beautiful. I wondered if that was why Sol seemed so unhappy. He lost the girl he loved, and he thinks she won't accept him after all these years. When I looked up, I saw his gaze drifting out the window. I am but a puppet with its strings still attached to its master. No matter what I enjoy or love in life, I have to live up to my father's expectations. I hesitated, surprised to hear Sol's admission. He's not around anymore, though. I'd been here at the mansion for quite some time now, but this is the first time Sol lowered his guard with me. I wonder if I will still be accepted if I bring down the perfect facade I have been keeping up for so long. I guess that's a reasonable fear. Played a part for so many years. How do you then throw that all away and hope that people actually like you for you and not just for this persona you've put on? Sol, not to be disrespectful, but your father isn't here anymore. Can't you just be yourself again? Sol twisted to look at me, surprise lifting the melancholy away from his face for a moment. His shoulders then slumped as he shook his head. The memories haunt me every night. I always see him watching my every move, and his disappointed look whenever I mess up. It's paralyzing. A sharp pain dug in my chest. Seeing Sol like this, so hurt and vulnerable and sad, was painful. My heart was still not beating properly, and this feeling wasn't good at all. So, you see, Lady Aura. Sol turned his body towards me, still leaning against the window. I felt him looking at me, though I'm not sure he really saw me anymore. Even if I were in love with someone, I've always had a list of potential wives thanks to my father. It's just my fate. Oh, I see. You're like, if I pursue anyone that was not on my father's list, then I'm gonna just have that disappointed look. I'm just gonna see it forever and ever and ever. And then I won't be able to even function. Oh, man. Your father was a piece of work, wasn't he? I guess probably the way to break the curse this time around, then, is to get Sol to be himself. That's the only way Gold's gonna come back. I'm guessing. Because you haven't moved on. You're still acting as though your father's around, who is the real reason behind this curse. Well, I hope he doesn't feel like they were cursed because maybe on that day he disobeyed his father or something. Oh boy, what am I gonna find out? I gotta keep playing. No point just questioning everything, keep playing. The thought of Sol being with someone he didn't have feelings for left me uncomfortable and bothered. But what bothered me more was the thought of Sol being with another girl. Ugh. It's your life, Sol. You should be allowed to live as you want. I blurted the statement out before Sol could say anything else. When he looked over at me, his brow furrowed into a confused tangle. Those beautiful green eyes stared at me like I'd lost my mind. Well, it's just... Lady Aura, what you are proposing is not so simple. If it were, I'd have done so already. I'll always be tied to my father's strings. Biting my lip and shifting to one side, I spoke the first thing I thought of. Sol. Oh! I'm saving again. I thought I had this. I thought I like had this in the bag of like what the right choice is here. Now I'm second guessing myself. Okay, my initial thought was, if I say I'll cut the strings, it means like I care about you. I will help you do this because you couldn't do it alone, so I will help you with it. And he's like, could it be that she cares about me? And then this is like, you're on your own. But then conversely, I'm like, do we believe in, like, does he have to be the one to do it? Like, are we just going to take care of it for him? Or does this show that we have confidence that he's strong enough to do it because we care about... all I saved again. Making me question these decisions. I just don't know. I mean, he's had to do everything himself. He's had to cover for Dion and take responsibility for everything. And he says he can't, if he could have done it, he would have done it already. So I feel like we're the new number in this equation. So that's probably for the best end. We're like, I'll help you. So I'm gonna go with my initial reasoning and hope that it works out. You'll be able to cut the ties. Sol had so much potential in him. His creativity and skill in clothing design was amazing, and I know he had the support of everyone here. He didn't have to stay trapped in a role he didn't like. Trust me, Sol, you're stronger than you think. I offered Sol my biggest, hopefully most encouraging smile I could. He only stared at me, as if I'd suddenly switched to a foreign language. Okay, I think I picked the right option. Please understand, Lady Aura, that this isn't something I can just step away from. My heartbeat went sideways for a moment, unsettled by the defeat in his voice. But Sol... My father trained me for this role since I was young. You don't just walk away from such conditioning. For a moment, I couldn't speak. It was hard to refute Sol's statement when it wasn't my place to be meddling in family affairs like this. I was just an outsider who wasn't brought up with strict expectations. I wanted to free him of these obligations, but I didn't know how. Until the best ending. Remembering what Sol asked before, I tried another tactic. In response to your earlier question, yes, you will be accepted. A flicker of hope passed over Sol's face, but it was fleeting. How can you be so sure? They're your family, Sol. How can they not? He seemed unsure of my words, still hesitating by the window. When I looked closer, I saw that he was biting his lip, which suggested Sol did want to believe what I said. I searched my memories, and a perfect example came to mind. Do you remember what Dion said a couple weeks ago? About how he misses you being yourself? Shouldn't that tell you? I lost strength in my voice, thoughts breaking down. Instead of a hopeful smile, Sol's expression became cold. I guess Dion's probably not the best person to bring up. Colder than I thought he could ever appear. Sol? With all due respect, Lady Aura, my older brother is the reason I'm trapped in this role. At first, I didn't understand what he meant. Right. Dion should have been the heir. I wonder why... Before I could collect and speak my thoughts, Sol turned away. I'm sorry, Lady Aura, but I'd like to be alone. But Sol... I stopped when he turned away from me, my shoulders drooping with rejection. This topic was obviously hurting him, but I couldn't think of anything comforting to say. Okay, Sol, I understand. Good luck with your work today. I hurried out of the room, my chest tight with pain. Oh man, we really hecked up there. Oh gosh. As Aura dashed down the hall, another figure made his way closer from the opposite direction. Oh, we're outside of our body now. You two make up! You two make up and hug it out! Or, so help me, I will take you both by the ear.
Well, that was a rather interesting conversation.
Forcing a grin didn't hide the genuine concern from Dion's expression. Sol flinched and twisted to face him. Sol attempted to hide his feelings behind a small smile. How long were you standing there, brother?
Who knows?
Silence drifted between them for a moment.
I'm glad that you're finally being honest with your feelings. Aura was right about what she said.
Sol's smile faded as his gaze drew to the window again.
You have the right to decide because that's what you want, not what everyone expects you to.
That's rich, brother, coming from you. Dion flinched as if Sol's words were a physical strike. He hadn't heard Sol speak this way, his voice cold and distant. After all, you did whatever you wanted to do, leaving everyone to pick up your responsibilities.
Sol, I never wanted to burden you with being the heir.
How can I believe that, when you've done nothing but drop your responsibilities onto me for over 7 years? Dion went quiet, his face and posture tense with conflict. He looked at Sol with pain streaked through his brown eyes, as if he wanted to tell him something, but no words fell from his lips. Sol closed his eyes, sighing as he touched his fingertips to his forehead. If I turned my back as the heir, Father was going to marry off Gold to a man of his choice. Oh no! But he can't do that anymore! He's dead! He is dead! That threat is gone! Isn't it? Unless he's got like a terrible friend out there who's going to just steal her away in the middle of the night. I don't know. I wouldn't let him do that to our sister. Dion's lips parted, his brown irises now tarnished with shock. He had no idea their father could be so underhanded. Shame and anger flushed over Dion's cheeks, but he hedged his response.
Sol, our father wouldn't go through with that plan.
How would you know? It's not like you were around to protect Gold from Father. Sol opened his eyes and stared at Dion from the side, brow furrowed with annoyance. It was unsettling for Dion to see Sol angry after so many years of pretending he didn't know Sol's smile was fake. Ah, oh, this is breaking my heart. Especially when Dion knew Sol was never told what really happened. What does that mean? What do you mean what really happened? Oh, the real reason why he was removed as heir. So you were also playing a part of like, sure, I'll make everybody think that I just wanted to shirk my responsibilities and be a playboy. Sure, I can pretend. But for what reason? Oh no, now I got more questions. Dion shrunk where he stood, sadness washing over his face.
Why? Why didn't you talk to me, Sol?
Because I can't trust that my older brother will be there when I need him. Dion looked up at Sol, pressing his lips together. There was so much he wanted to say, but the words wouldn't form. They were stuck in his heart, a dagger that he'd carried for years, but still could not dislodge. As a sigh deflated his chest, Dion bowed his head and excused himself from the room. Sol didn't stop him. This is breaking my heart.